안녕하세요. 매일매일 운동하기를 실천하고 있는 동탄 왕코입니다. 오늘은 1월 14일 다이어리 데이예요. 다이어리 데이. 저도 오늘 라디오 듣고 알았습니다. 오늘이 다이어리 데이라는 거예요. 그리고 드디어 오늘 밤만 출근하면은 또 야간 2주가 끝이 나요. 지긋지긋합니다. 피곤해요. 많이 피곤하고. 지금 뉴스에 트럼프 impeached for second time 두 번째 탄핵이 가결이 됐다? 뭐 아무튼 얘네들은 뭐 좀 복잡해요. 좀 더 절차가. 근데 뭐 이제 뭐 12일밖에 안 남았는데 그렇습니다. 오늘도 햇살은 예술이고요. 날씨가 많이 풀렸어요. 그래서 미세먼지가 많이 심해졌고, 그리고 손목이 아파요. 지금 왜 아픈지 모르겠습니다. 퇴근할 때까지는 안 그랬는데 지금 제가 여기 스트레칭을 했거든요. 스트레칭하고 몇 가지 운동을 조금씩 했어요. 근데 손목이 좀 아파요. 그래서 지금 영상에서는 스쿼트 20개씩 5세트 할 거고요. 그 다음에 요거 틈틈이 요거 하겠습니다. 요거 해봤는데 요거는 전혀 괜찮더라고요. 안 아프더라고요. 팔굽혀펴기나 이렇게 좀 디딜 때 아파요. 근데 아까는 스트레칭도 못했는데 지금은 좀 스트레칭 되는 거 보니까 어쨌든 오늘 하루는 이 손목에 무리가 가는 운동은 하지 않도록 하겠습니다. 일단 스쿼트 할게요. 이거 무게도 안 할 거예요. 이렇게 들어가지고 손목이 좀 아파요. 다 아프고 다 안 되고 원래 다 그런 겁니다, 여러분. 자, 일단 스쿼트, 맨몸 스쿼트 20개씩 5세트 하도록 할게요. 운동할 땐 CNN이죠.
And criticize Biden. I got to tell you, I'm from a school of Republicans that say ideas are what you use to lead your country. And if you don't have ideas and all you want to be is negative, why don't you go somewhere else? Because to me, the party has to rehabilitate itself, and it will start with younger Republicans. I don't mean young Republicans just, but younger Republicans who realize we're lost.
Quick final word, David.
Yeah, I might point out among the 10 today, not everybody's getting into a parts off, but we've got a couple of these new young veterans.
Yes.
The growing number, 2 sit up in that group today.
Yeah, it is very significant, obviously, Congressman Zemeyer and Kinzinger on that list. Thank you both so very much. I want to go to Jeff Zeleny now. He is with the President-elect Biden in Wilmington, Delaware. And Jeff, obviously, it's been just about 3 hours since the House impeached President Trump the second time. So far, though, silence from President-elect Biden. And that actually is quite a telling thing.
Aaron, look, we know President-elect Joe Biden's view of impeachment. It's not like he supports President Trump or believes he does not deserve to be impeached. Of course, he does believe that, but he does not like what the idea of impeachment would mean for the opening days, perhaps weeks of his presidency. So it is striking now more than 3 hours. 3 hours after that final vote was cast. We've not yet heard from Mr. Biden on this. I am told by aides that he will be having a statement at some point this evening, and of course we can imagine what it says. He is again not in favor of this president, but wants to focus on coronavirus, wants to focus on the economy, and urgently wants to focus on getting some of his top national security nominees confirmed. So I'm told his aides are working behind the scenes with Senate Democrats and House impeachment managers over the coming days, and they'll be working on a way to keep this impeachment trial tight and speedy as much as possible. But of course, it's unclear tonight how possible that will be.
So President-elect Biden, when he's going to Washington, obviously, for his inauguration, was planning to take an Amtrak from Delaware to Washington, which, of course, he notoriously did, right, as his children were growing up, right? That's part of the Joe Biden story. So it was important to him. But he's now not going to do it. Why?
Well, they called him Amtrak Joe for a reason, because he did travel every day from here in Wilmington to Washington. He took that last train ride back from Washington here on his final day as vice president. Now he's not going to be doing this, I am told, because of this heightened a security concern. His team had a briefing today with top security officials. This is one of the things that came out of that. They're deeply concerned about what they see happening in Washington. I'm told it is as much about Union Station in Washington, which is just a few blocks from the U.S. Capitol. We've seen the perimeter around there. That was one concern. So I'm told that he's going now to travel with his family next week on Tuesday evening, likely to Washington. He'll be staying at the Blair House, which of course is right across the street from the White House on the eve of his inauguration. But Aaron, 1 week from tonight, he is the sitting president, and he wants already to have these things underway. But of course, he's inheriting that Trump impeachment.
And that's the big question, of course, is how and when to do that, because now it's got to be done. All right, thank you very much, Jeff. So I want to go to Lawrence Tribe, constitutional law professor at Harvard Law School, who advised House Democrats on President Trump's impeachment probe, and the author of To End a Presidency, The Power of Impeachment. So Professor Tribe, here we are at this moment. You've spent a career, studying the aspects of this part of American life, impeachment. And now here we are, with history being made in many ways, including the most bipartisan impeachment in American history and the only president to be impeached twice. Could you ever have imagined you see such a thing?
Not really, and it's a sad day. I mean, it's good that the system held. It's good that 10 Republicans joined the Democrats, making this, as you said, the most bipartisan impeachment in American history. But it is sad that we had a president who fomented a riotous, seditious insurrection against the Capitol, and that there was no choice but to impeach him. That is really sad, and I can't wait till this is over.
So let me just ask you about that, because obviously the House sends over the articles, and then the Senate, essentially the next business day, they've got to start a trial. There's a lot at stake on this, and I guess there's a legal part of this and a political part. First of all, can they afford to not have him be convicted? And I know McConnell's opened the door to that vote, but you need those 16 or 17 votes. Can they afford to not have it end with conviction? And how much leeway does the House have on the timing here?
Well, it's entirely up to Nancy Pelosi and the House as to when they send the articles over. I'm not in favor of waiting any longer than necessary, because President-elect Biden has made it clear that he can walk and chew gum at the same time, to use the old cliche. That is, they can bifurcate things. They can spend part of the day on impeachment and part of the day on rescuing the American people from the disaster that this president left behind. And the impeachment trial needn't last very long. The earlier one that we had with President Trump lasted a couple days. Here, it was all in real time, in public view. There's really no question but that he should be removed from office, and more important, even if he's already out of office by the time the trial occurs, he needs to be disqualified from holding office in the future.
So let me ask you because I know you have to have a conviction in the Senate first, and then a second vote on a majority basis on not holding office in the future. But one must be a predicate of the other. So Senate Majority Leader McConnell says obviously he's not going to bring the Senate back. So this isn't going to happen until Joe Biden is president. I'm sorry. Some legal experts, though, say that ends the whole thing, that you cannot hold a trial once the person you are removing from office is no longer in office. You've just written an op-ed in the Washington Post about this, and you say President Trump can be tried and convicted after leaving office. Why? Explain.
Well, basically, the Constitution's text makes it clear that as long as you are an officer when you commit an impeachable offense, the ability to convict you and prevent you from repeating your dangerous activities doesn't cease. If it were written otherwise, it would be crazy. That William Belknap, who was Secretary of War in 1876, thought he could game the system by resigning his office minutes before the impeachment was returned. But then the Senate, by a vote of 37 to 29, held, understandably, you can't get away with it that way. It's not like when someone says you're fired, you say, so you can't fire me, I've already resigned.
Right.
The fact is that the Constitution was designed so that the most dangerous characters couldn't escape the important remedy of being taken out of public office in the future. simply by resigning. That won't work. And although there are some scholars I really admire, in particular Judge Michael Ludig, who doesn't agree with me but says he thinks I've got a powerful argument, I think the case is pretty clear. And there's a lot of argument, both historical and textual, for the view that I have about this.
All right, so the question then is, will the president be prosecuted criminally, right, in a court of law? Now, he could do a last-minute resignation, try to have Mike Pence pardon him. I understand there are last-minute things that could happen here. But it would seem right now we are on a path, assuming a self-pardon will not hold, which no experts say it will not, where the president will be criminally prosecuted, right?
He can be criminally prosecuted by the Fulton County DA because of the way he tried to kind of twist the arm of the Secretary of State of Georgia to steal the franchise from the people of Georgia. He can be prosecuted regardless of who pardons whom. He can be certainly prosecuted by the Attorney General of New York, who's working on all of his violations. He can be prosecuted by the Manhattan DA, and I think that the incoming Justice Department under Merrick Garland is going to have to investigate all of the crimes he's committed, including involvement in and fomenting insurrection, riot. A lot of death resulted from what he did, so there's no end to the crimes that he seems to be subject to prosecution for once he's out of office.
Thank you very much, Professor Tribe. And next, Senator Josh Hawley, one of the Republicans who led the election results challenge, even after the riot, is tonight defending his actions after everything we know about the insurrection, after 5 people died. Hawley defends supporting the president's lies.
오늘 여기까지만
Breaking
하겠습니다.
news, CNN learning new details about the investigation into the attack on the U.S. Capitol. These new details suggest a much higher, more sophisticated level of planning than we had any knowledge of. And I'm going to speak to Congressman